And we are live. Good morning, buenos dias, buenas tardes, buenas noches, depending on where you are. Me llamo Doctora Lulu. I am a life coach. I work specifically with parents of queer kids. I help them along their journey as advocates and parent allies. And in the recent times, I've tried to shine my light more on parents of trans kids, or as I learned last week, parents of gender creative kids. I love that term. So today I have to help me spread the message my good friend Mandy Giles, the famous lady with the mug that says, "Don't mess with Texas kids," or something. Mandy is going to tell us all about herself. And we met, we're parents who love and affirm their kids and are fearless about it. Meet at the Texas Capitol, on social media, through friends, word of mouth. So, Mandy, thank you so much, first of all, for hosting me, a week or two ago. And then, of course, for coming to refund a favor. Is that what it is? Return a favor.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really appreciate that we both live in Texas. I don't think
Yeah.
in my recent memory I've had any parent who lives in Texas come on my show. I've had someone in the Philippines, I've had people in Nigeria, South Africa, you name it, but never someone in Texas. So I'm really excited because both of us are pretty much breathing the same air as
Mm-hmm.
regards to, freedom in America, oil in Texas, cowboy boots, and cowboys. So let's talk a little bit, shall we? So Mandy,
Yeah.
how did you? I know obviously you're here because you're a parent of a queer kid. That's the
Mhm.
only, that's the only criterion. But how did you? And tell us just as much as you want to tell. How did you get into the activism work? Because that
Mhm.
truly for me is the next level, that
Mhm.
become a gender activist, as it were. How did you get into that?
Yeah. So I live in Houston and I have three kids, and two of them are transgender, non binary to be exact. And when the first kid came out to me and my husband, I guess it was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I got a lot of help from PFLAG, which has been huge in my journey. And I started educating myself and going to conferences and workshops and webinars and started reading. And I got more involved with the groups that were giving me help. So I ended up joining the board of PFLAG Houston and the planning committee of the Gender Infinity Conference here in Houston and some other groups. And so I started hearing more about what was going on, say, in the Houston community, the Texas community, or even around the country in regards to legislation or policies that target the trans community or the LGBTQ community. So 2 years ago, was it 2 years ago? Yeah. Well, okay. Let's start back even further.
No problem.
In
Just take your time.
Yeah, in early 2020, I realized that I needed to make a job change and a career change. I was in nonprofit fundraising and I enjoyed that field. And I just felt it was time to make a change. The place where I was working um, had some donors and some partners that did not align with my values. Um, like say church funders that maybe were a little bit more to the right. And I thought, you know what, I need to do something different. And I wanted to do something to advocate for transgender kids. And I had no idea what that was going to be. I wanted to have it involve education or speaking or something in some way. And my last week of work was the week before the pandemic. And so then the pandemic happened and I had no idea what to do. And I had a long time to think about it. So that was actually a gift. And then in 2021 was the Texas legislative session happened. And in Texas, as some of your viewers may know, our sessions happen every other year. So that was the last one. And my husband and I were kind of living part-time in Houston and Austin. It's kind of a complicated situation. But anyway, so I was spending a lot of time in Austin. And when the first big piece of legislation against trans kids came up, it was one of the transgender the bans against transgender athletes in K through 12. I was in Austin and I was like, gosh, I don't know. I've never done anything with like activism or whatever. I don't know. Like, I was so afraid of like getting lost at the Capitol, which is a real fear. It's a maze. And like, where do I park? What do I do? And so through PFLAG Houston, I got connected with Equality Texas, which is an incredible advocacy organization in Texas, yay, and some other organizations. And I went to some trainings about how to testify against a bill in a public hearing. I had no idea. I thought that was like for like advocacy superheroes and not like an average mom. And I learned that everybody, all Texas citizens, have the right to go to the Capitol, and they have 2 minutes when there's a public hearing to just say whatever they want. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. I did not have, I had to go to like JCPenney, buy a nice shirt because all I had was t-shirts. And then I learned later, like, that's no big deal. And then, so I went and was terrified, and then was hooked after I gave that testimony. It's like, it was so empowering to know, yeah, that I had those 2 minutes to tell those legislators up on the dais how this bill would affect me, affect my family, and affect other kids like my kids. And so, and I testified a couple more times during that session. I went to rallies and demonstrations and started speaking at those things. I spoke at press conferences and town halls and in media interviews, local, state, national, international. And I started seeing a different side of what it meant to support trans kids, because I originally was like, I'm going to be like the happy voice of supporting your trans kids and joy. And that is important. And like, it can be kind of scary.
Yes.
Yeah. To raise your transgender children in an environment like Texas or the United States.
Exactly. Because didn't you
And
have
yeah.
like someone sent you a letter?
Yeah, recently, yeah, kind of two things happened. The Houston, I guess it was like maybe 2 months ago, a month or two ago, the Houston Chronicle published an editorial cartoon that was in really poor taste about the Nashville shooter, about them possibly being trans. And I still don't know if that was ever really determined. But it was just in poor taste and equated gun violence with being transgender. And so I wrote a letter to the editor and about that, and saying that transgender does not kill people, guns kill people. And I said, shame on you for publishing this.
I mean, yeah, call them out. Call them out,
Yeah.
because
And
I mean,
yeah,
I know this is probably not necessarily what we want to talk about, but I think since we went there, let's pivot a little bit and just make it
yeah.
clear that of the close to million at this point mass shooting that we've had,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you can count on one hand how many of them were by people that we know for a fact were gender non-conforming. It's
Sure.
important that we say at the end of the day, even if every last of them were gender non, so what? That's
Mm-hmm.
still focusing on the wrong thing. That's
Sure.
still focusing on the wrong thing. So let's talk about that for 2 seconds and then leave it right
Mm-hmm.
there, because that's the truth.
Yeah.
It focuses on the wrong thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's a lot wrapped up in that because, oh yeah, a lot because it's in Texas. There's so much that our legislative body could be focusing on right now about gun control and protecting kids and um, mental health services and fixing the freaking grid so that we can
Grid.
have so we can have and your viewers may
Electricity
not
next
know
time
that
we have snow.
uh,
Yes.
it is so messed up in Texas, but so that we can have power when it's 110 degrees in Texas or below freezing. So anyway, yeah, there's a lot more
Yeah.
that our legislature can focus on besides the 1.7% of kids who identify as transgender, non-binary, gender non-conforming, and the even smaller percentage of those kids who even want to play sports, or the smaller percentage of those kids who want and qualify for medically necessary gender affirming care. So it's just there just don't need to be focused on that. So yeah, so I wrote that letter and I didn't know if it was going to get published or not. And I'm old, so I still get like the paper. And so I saw it come out like the next day and I was like, oh, that's great. And the day after that letter was published, I got an anonymous letter at my house um, from, I didn't know, the postmark just said Houston. I think it might have said North Houston. And
Even if it
yeah,
said Northwest, Southwest Houston, the fact that
hmm
it was instantaneous, like literally
yeah.
within a day of, it makes me think someone in the Houston Chronicle did it. I mean, come on. I mean, obviously it doesn't matter because they're too
Yeah.
cowardly. They're too
Mhm.
cowardly to show their face. They're
Yeah.
too cowardly to say, I did it, like
Yeah.
Nigerians would say, with my full chest. So you know
Yeah.
what? Fuck you and twice on Sundays. If you cannot
Yeah.
show your face, then you know
Yeah.
what? I'll see you later because it doesn't
Yeah.
you don't count. It's just one
Mm-mm.
person just trying to show that they know how to type. Probably had a lot
Yeah.
of typos. Someone like this probably can't spell two from two, or there from there
Yeah.
from there. But
Yeah, pretty much.
whatever. Because I know you read some of it, and I was just like, oh my goodness,
Yeah. It wasn't
that is the dark side of this work.
yeah, yeah. It wasn't threatening or anything. It was more this person was trying to sort of educate me on what it means to have guns or whatever, but it was still a little creepy that
Yeah,
and it's
exactly. It was
really
creepy, your
yeah.
address, your home address.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not even about being threatening.
Mhm.
In medicine, we say if you leave a small ulcer, it will become a
Mhm.
big sore.
Mhm.
And if you don't take care of that big sore, it's going to become, I don't know, skin cancer as an example. It's not real, but
Sure.
it's true. So the fact that they had the galls to do that, the
Yeah.
speed with which they did it, to what
Mhm.
effect? They didn't stop you. If anything at all, they gave you two mics to talk, louder.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Because there was a time you
Yeah.
spoke somewhere at the gathering
Yes, and that was all kind of in the same time period. I think,
time,
like, the
yeah.
next day, I spoke at a
Mhm.
protest in Kingwood, which is right outside Houston, on behalf of a family who was being harassed and targeted because the mom flew a pride flag in front of her house because she was proud of her queer kids. She had a trans kid and a queer kid, and so she was proud of them. So she flew the pride flag, which is what it's for. And um, their family was harassed, like this sort of so dumb, this like sort of gang of suburban privileged kids were targeting them and someone threw a brick through their window. And so their community up there gathered together to support them. And someone who was involved in that called me up and said, "Hey, you want to come speak at this?" So it was a lovely gathering, and nothing happened. It was very calm, very loving, and then I think it was the next day that another letter to the editor appeared in the Houston Chronicle by someone who just so happened to be a school board member of a school district in that area. And she published a response to my letter in the Chronicle. Like, okay, I mean, really, like, she has too much time on her hands. And saying that the cartoon was not offensive, and that because I spend my time defending trans kids or doing whatever, that I see offense where there is none. And whatever. It just, but all those things are kind of connected. And I think that's, like you say, kind of the dark side of advocating for the transgender community or the queer community, or really kind of anything when you're speaking truth to power. And then that not even power, I guess, the loud status quo, even though they might be small, they have this weird, powerful network that's like this weird underground, or not so underground, I don't know, that target people. And we saw that in the Capitol last Tuesday when protesters, or actually just advocates
Yeah,
who,
just
yeah,
bystanders, upstanders, people that obviously went there for a reason, but
yeah,
were not doing anything. They
hmm,
flew a flag or dropped a flag.
hmm,
I don't understand. Well, I do. It's power,
hmm,
it's patriarchy, it's
yeah,
misogyny.
yeah,
I just wonder, you were voted in. Like, it's not like it's your, I don't know, the king of England where your mother was the queen.
yeah,
I get that. That's a
hmm,
birthright of sorts. This is a vote. Like, in
hmm,
other words, next time around, you may not be voted back in. Like,
yeah,
literally, I don't know if, obviously, I'm moving to California, but I was
hmm,
going to move when I was 7 months pregnant with my first child. That was what I decided to
hmm,
do then when I retired. And now we're 25 years old, I'm retired, and I'm moving. Um,
hmm,
but I wonder if people ever stop to think that this power, once upon a time, Hitler didn't think he would ever die. You thought, oh,
hmm,
I'm Hitler, you know.
hmm,
This thing will end one day. And picking on the most vulnerable of the most vulnerable
yep,
and going so ferociously, like, let's do it. I know that these people's family members are queer. I
hmm,
know that these people's children are trans. It's just based on the statistics. The reason
sure,
there are more kids raising their hands now is the same phenomenon that happened with left-handedness. Because since 2012, they made it legal for us to get married. So people are like, oh, okay, well, me too, you know?
yeah,
And so this is the price of visibility. But you
yeah,
cannot visualize something you've already seen, if that makes any sense. People are already
yeah,
coming out prouder. Nothing made me so proud than to see those children at the Capitol that last time we went there. Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah.
Thousands of
It was
kids.
incredible.
I will say with my full chest, they were braver than the adults there because
Yeah,
there's power in numbers. They were so brave. Of course, there were adults there and were brave too,
hmm,
but just to see the children, oh, so
hmm,
good. I have
yeah,
hope for the next generation. I have hope. I do.
hmm. That,
I
yeah,
want
that's what keeps me going for sure.
yeah,
Is the younger people. Yeah.
yes. And I saw your children, which I thought was just
Yes,
amazing.
yes. Uh-huh.
My kid is a recluse. That's not going to happen anytime soon. But I do want to ask you, there's something you
Yeah.
said earlier, much, much earlier. You said
Excuse me.
when our children came out to us about 5 years ago, my
Uh-huh.
husband and I.
Mhm,
I love that. Obviously, you're the face of the parents of trans kids, but I
mhm,
love, 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 love that you said my husband and I, because this morning on my YouTube channel, I
uh-huh,
usually go live at 8 a.m. on Thursdays just to talk about whatever is
uh-huh,
on my mind.
uh-huh,
Last night, when I had my parents coaching, group coaching, we usually celebrate our wins and then one challenge. One
mhm,
mom's challenge was, she said, well, it's not really my challenge, but it's mine, but it's not mine. I said, what is it? Is it yours or it's not yours? So, well, my husband doesn't really support our kid. I was like, we leaned in because that was my ex-husband. That was everybody's especially when the child is assigned male at birth, which everyone was like, yeah, yeah,
Mm,
yeah. But she said her kid came home for whatever she came home for from college. And then
mhm,
she said, Mom, dad doesn't talk to me.
mm,
So her husband essentially is avoiding the child, pretending the child doesn't exist,
mm,
hoping to maybe think the child away. You know what I mean? Like,
mhm,
and this child is so unhappy.
mm,
Yes, on hormones, yes, going through transitions. But let's talk about your husband, the ease
mhm.
or not ease of getting him on board. And obviously, I don't know who went first,
Mhm,
but
mhm,
just the fact that you said my husband and I, for
mhm,
me, that's interesting. How did
mhm,
you? Because my ex-husband is extremely homophobic, and as at this point, my kid has already like excommunicated and done whatever
mhm.
the process that Mariah Carey did. I don't know what it is, but she has ex-dad right now.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think I count myself lucky, that and I can't speak for my husband, so I'll speak from my experience of
Hmm.
parenting with my husband. We're on the same page most of the time, when it comes to parenting our kids. Um, and we balance each other out in lots of aspects of parenting, for all three of my kids. And so when let's see, when my the first kid came out, and this is very, as you know, very typical or common, I should say, of transgender kids. They might go through different identities before they land on, like, okay, this is really what feels right to me.
Hmm.
So the first kid came out as bisexual, and then aromantic, asexual, and then non-binary. And then the same thing with they're actually they're twins. And so the second kid to come out came out as queer, then lesbian, and then non-binary. So, and all those things are still true and they work together, but that's how they have discovered themselves and how they came out to us.
Yes.
So I think in the beginning, um, my husband and I think knew that we, kind of like what I said in the beginning, that we needed some help knowing how to support our
What
kids,
to
and
do?
or
Yes.
and think, because that child came out first as bisexual, and we were like, okay, we kind of know what that means, kind of, and maybe we don't know, so let's go see what it's all about. So that's when we went to PFLAG together, and it was really great to start that journey together. So we both heard, say, at the Houston chapter, they have an educational meeting every month. So we both heard the same thing, and then we could talk about it later, or go to the same support group and go, oh yeah, what that person said and what that person said, and this really affected me, and what do you think about this? And I talked about, and so it was, lucky and a blessing, I guess, that we were doing that together. And then as kind of our parenting journeys went on, there were different times when one of us would be out there waving the trans flag and like, yes, we're going to go do this. And yeah, I want to go talk about this, whatever. And of course, anything with the permission of our kids. And then maybe the other one might go, oh, you know what? Is this really real? I don't know. And doing that processing, away from our kids, but like in bed at night, clutching each other, going, okay, I don't know. I have questions. I'm not sure. And maybe the other one could say, yes, it's okay. And so having that support of each other. And then even in our advocacy work, we have also done that. When we were both living part-time in Austin, it was a funny situation that, like, we were not really there at the same time because one of us had to be in Houston and one had to be in Austin. But so whenever a bill would come up, whoever was in Austin would go do the things, whether it was testifying or going to a rally or whatever. And so we could each participate in that. Um, and sometimes it was together, and that was even more fun that we could do that. And then sometimes with our kid who was in school in Austin. Um, and then now, because this is what I do as part of my my job and my career is advocating and being visible for those who can't be,
Mhm.
then I'm in Austin a lot more. And then my husband Neil is doing more on, say, he's a lawyer, so he's seeing what he could do on his side
Yes.
and using those skills to help people in various ways. So
Mhm.
so yeah, I view it, and we've always viewed our relationship and our parenting as a team,
That's good.
and balancing each other out, kind of a yin and
Yeah.
yang almost. And so yeah, it's been a journey. It's not always easy, but
No. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm also not here to, well, two things I want to say. I'm also not
Hmm.
here to say, oh, today your child says makes a declaration, tomorrow jump on it. I'm
Hmm.
not there.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about for the people who are out there who may or may not watch this, who 5 years later, the one parent is the one that is doing all the work and all the heavy lifting.
Mm-hmm.
3 years later, I mean, at this point, it's like, how long is it going to be? I understand maybe the first few weeks. I was not jumping. It took me about three
Hmm.
weeks. I didn't jump in.
Yeah.
However, from the declaration of the I am trans, it was about
Hmm.
21 days. But before that,
Hmm.
it was like, even while I was married to my ex-wife, I mean, we're like, oh, why does he have
Hmm.
to be so gay? On the TV, you know?
Yeah.
Well, oh, please, oh, it's another one of those guys. Oh my goodness. Kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know my kid was trans. I was like, okay, we're
Hmm.
gay. Okay, we'll do that. And I wanted to stop at this point to mention that, and I know Mandy kind of alluded to that. Sexuality is different from gender.
Hmm.
Yes,
Hmm.
they may become
Hmm.
prominent about the same time. We start, having puberty changes about the same time that we start falling in love. So you may see your child show these two things simultaneously. It doesn't mean that it's
Hmm.
one and the same thing. Each one is different. And you have to
Hmm.
work your way through it the way you work your way through things. I'm just saying, remember that now that I know better, that your child usually has known this for as long as close to infancy for some people. And so while some would say,
Hmm.
okay, finally at 71, they feel safe enough to tell you, it doesn't usually mean that they found it at 71. So you as the parent, if you decide to wait 71 more years to catch on, that's the thing, I think, is what I want parents to
Hmm.
understand. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is your
Hmm.
work. Are you a coach for parents of trans kids? Is that
I am. I am yeah,
tell
I
us
do
about?
direct support for
Yes.
parents in a couple of different ways and have like an online course. I do direct support, and that can be kind of in different ways. And then, of course, I do a lot of speaking stuff for organizations and things. So, yeah, so that's what I'm doing right now.
And so where can the people find
Mhm.
you? Because I didn't want to, I kind of said 30 to
Yeah.
45 minutes. So where can the
Yeah.
people find you? One, and then two,
Mhm.
is there anything else you would like to tell maybe the parents who found out today? Today, okay,
Okay.
yesterday.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so you can find me. So I'm the founder of the resource Parents of Trans Youth, and that provides learning support and community to parents and caregivers of transgender and gender diverse kids. I am most active on Instagram, and so that's the handle is Parents of Trans Youth. You can also find me on Facebook. Just search Parents of Trans Youth, and my website is parentsoftrainsyouth.com. So that's the easiest way to find me. And the yeah, so that's the easiest way. And let's see. So for parents whose kids came out today, I would say take a breath, and because this is going, thank you, because this is going to be a shock to many parents. Some parents maybe have seen signs, but for a lot of parents, they maybe have no idea. And so just take a breath and know that everything is going to be okay. Your kid is going to be okay. It's the same kid that you
Same.
know and love. You
Oh,
just have a little more information now. And some parents, I think, feel like, okay, maybe they're really supportive. Like, oh, okay, I know I need to do stuff, but I don't know what. And so I've got to do this and this and this. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. You don't have to do all the things
Anything
today.
I
Your
do.
kid might not even want to do
Want
all the things
anything. Thank
today.
you. Yes.
So it's okay to just sort of chill for a little bit and take care of yourself, and then believe, listen to, and just love on your kid. And that's the first step.
I think I love the idea of breathing, just taking a deep breath
Mhm.
and then allow yourself to take the second breath and then the third.
Mhm. Mhm.
And maybe even just take a day to hear the words. What
Mhm.
I think is probably a good idea to mention as well is what not to do. Because I
Oh,
did
yeah.
what you're not to do. According to my kid, I
Mm.
didn't say thank you for telling me, thank you for finding me a safe place. I just took off running. I was like, I mean, not physically,
Mm.
but my brain
Mhm.
was just like racing. That's like my worst
Sure.
fears as a Black Nigerian immigrant Catholic. I was like, that's it, it's over. So,
Yeah.
what also can the parents not do?
Mm. Um, yeah, that's a really good point of the yeah, the because I think one
Yeah,
of
I
the
think, yeah,
first
I didn't mean
yeah.
to interrupt you, but I think
No,
the
yeah.
first thing is okay, what to be is to
Mhm.
breathe, and so you
Yes.
can still be alive,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
What to
Yes.
do, there'll be two things: what to do with yourself, which is take a break,
Mm.
and then what to do with the kid. We didn't talk
Yes.
about that.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then what not to do,
Mhm.
period.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a good point of what to say, and I think one I would love it if all parents, like, had this in their back pocket, whether they thought their kid was trans or not, and so or queer, and so or whatever, flavor of
Whatever,
queer,
yeah.
that to say, "Thank you so much for
Thank
telling
you.
me.
Yeah.
I love you, and let me know how I can support you." And so if you have that in your back pocket, great, that's a good point. And if you like you said, like if you kind of your brain went on overload or you freaked out or whatever, you can always come back and say that. Say, "You know what? I don't think I handled that really well. So I want you to know that I love you and I'm so glad you told me. How can I support you?"
That's it.
And
I think
so,
how can I
yeah,
support you should not,
yeah.
and everyone needs to say that with that is it. That is the key. In one of my
Hmm.
TED Talks, I said, how can I make your burden lighter? Because the truth is,
Oh,
it's a
yeah,
burden. And the
yeah.
kid is already going to face the outside world, which is coming to get them. The
Hmm.
only place that is a sanctuary is here. So, how can I
Hmm.
help? How can I support you?
Hmm.
How can
Yeah.
I be? Those are the things. How is an open ended
Hmm.
question. You might be
Hmm.
surprised. Your kid is like, nothing. I just wanted you to know
Yeah. Yeah.
versus, or, well, I mean, if you don't mind, can you take down my baby pictures? It could
Hmm.
be, sure, let's go to dinner. It could
Mm.
be, I mean, I'd like a cake. It could be, how about a pride event? It could be, how about a
Yeah.
pride event? It could
Uh-huh.
be, or mom, please don't tell dad. It could be, or dad, please
Hmm.
don't tell mom. Or
Hmm.
please, can you just not tell grandma? Or come,
Hmm.
let's tell mom together. I mean, it could
Hmm.
be any of those responses. Like
Hmm.
literally, let's tell grandpa together. I've been really wanting to
Yeah.
tell grandpa, or whatever. I don't know.
Hmm.
And you might
Yeah.
notice one of the things I notice other parents, I say, well, you know what? My husband and I split, and then the next week, my kid tells me this. I'm like, yeah, a lot of
Ah.
parents have said that the child has now,
Mm.
or something bad happened, and then they say, their
Mhm.
kid, their friend died by suicide or whatever. They're like,
Mm.
you know what? I'm gonna live my life now. Maybe I
Mhm.
better I better just tell my mom this thing because this big thing that just happened. I just need to live my life now. Whatever it is that your child is going through, I want you to know all the possible scenarios that
Mhm.
are playing out. Your job
Yeah.
is to stay the same answer. Thank you for telling me.
Mhm.
How can I help? Like for
Yeah.
real, even if you run into the bathroom and throw up, I need you to
Yeah.
say, how thank you for telling me how
Yeah.
can. So that way, at
Yeah.
least now you know after watching this that that's kind of what
Mhm.
we want you to say.
Yeah.
That's what your child will want you to say because it's not really
Mhm.
me. I didn't even say that. It's what your
Mm.
child will want you to say. It is as affirming as it gets. How can I help?
Mhm.
and then maybe run into the bathroom and cry, or jump for joy because you might be a transparent. You might, have noticed, suspected.
Mhm.
I think our default thought is that it's going to be a negative. We might have a parent who celebrate right away.
Mhm.
So there are many parents who are like, it wasn't a
Sure.
problem for me. I was just so excited to have a child that's trans because, oh my goodness, one of the parents that I coach, the child has never
Mhm.
ever not been a girl, is what she says to us.
Mm.
Kid is six
Mhm.
years old now. From the first time she adopted the child at a few months old to this
Mhm.
date. So there are many people like that. There was
Mm.
never really an announcement. Those
Yeah.
are the many ways I think I wanted, I don't know if you've had that experience, the many ways your child can present. You
Mhm.
know, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. Um, about how they can present?
Yes, and then
Okay.
and how some parents might actually not necessarily be shocked. I think our
Mm,
first
mhm.
default is that, oh, all of us think, not all of us think in binary terms. A trans
Yeah.
person may not feel that way.
Mhm.
However, maybe their parent
Yeah.
didn't respond with thank you, so they might themselves might not know
Mhm.
what to say, but they might not be shocked. In other words, I don't want everyone to think
Yeah.
that the default is shock. The default is not shock.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I think some parents, yeah, like, well, I can speak from my experience
Mhm.
that, I did not know, well, first of all, I didn't know anything about gender diversity at all,
Mm.
and so that was part of my surprise, and maybe if
Mm.
I had known, then I'm like, "Oh, well, maybe, maybe something's going on with my kid," but, so I didn't see, like, signs, but there are in some families, I think parents maybe do kind of pick up on clues or signs, and you don't need to be like a gender detective or a sexuality detective to like maybe they're gay. But you might say, oh, well, that's interesting because they were assigned female at birth, but maybe they always, you know, want to. They're saying that they're a boy, and they've said that since they could talk. And like, huh, maybe something's going on. And that's when, as the term is, the consistent, persistent, insistent,
Insistent.
especially for younger kids, if they're always saying that they're a different gender, or maybe they say, I'm not a girl, I'm not a boy, or whatever it is. And maybe choosing clothes or toys or friends or whatever that might be different than what you would expect or that our society would expect with the way they were assigned at birth. Then you might say, okay, maybe something's going on here. Maybe they are gender creative, gender diverse, whatever. And then that might be when you go get some help and you do some education and say, again, how can I help my child? Because when they're younger,
Yes.
they may not be able to come to you and say, this is what I need, mom. I would, when they're
Yes.
forward, I'd like to get a haircut. And will you please buy me some princess dresses? And,
Yes.
um, so that's when the parents have to take maybe a little bit larger role in getting some help and figuring out how they can help their kid, I think. Did that
Yes.
answer the question? Was that the
Yeah, I think it
what you
touched
were
on
talking about?
everything. I think the beauty of this conversation is people are gonna get what they're gonna get out of it.
Yeah.
There'll be someone who's gonna watch it and say, you know what, that's BS. Someone is gonna watch this and feel that way.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
me, I just love that we present. I mean, we I'm cisgender. So
Mhm.
even though I found out that I might actually be genderqueer, but
Mhm.
my default is cisgendered, and
Mhm.
I like that because I can now sell the fact that you can be cisgendered and still think
Mhm.
positive about trans people. So
Sure.
for the intent of today, I'm going to say I'm
Mhm.
cisgendered. I don't know what
Mhm.
it's like to be trans. So I'm not
Mhm.
going to fully ever tell you everything. And I don't know
Sure.
your child. So I think what Mandy and I have done is just try to pick out a little bit that we've picked over the years
Mhm.
and just kind of offer it to you. For me, I think just believing that the future is gender queer is one.
Mhm.
And then number
Mhm.
two, maybe it's time we stopped gender reveal parties, find a way around that,
Oh, yes.
and stop gender assignment at birth. I think for me,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
my ultimate goal on earth, in my new book, I mentioned that, about gender assignment is a chapter. Just the fact
Mm-hmm.
that maybe we don't need to assign gender at birth.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to just, and I was surprised out of my skin when two parents in San Francisco over the weekend, two parents in my room where I was giving the talk
Mm-hmm.
raised their hands that they're currently raising their kids non-binary. I just about died. When
Wow.
one
Oh,
of them
that's
is black,
awesome.
I know.
Yeah.
When one of them is black, I was like, no, shut the front. It's just like,
Yeah.
I
Wow.
couldn't believe
That
it. I
that
was
takes
so
courage.
happy. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So if those two parents are doing it, there are more parents. I remember reading about a parent a long time ago that were raising their
Mm-hmm.
kids genderless. And I was like, kill me now. But they exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe the world needs to start exploring what that might mean, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't
Sure.
mind if you misunderstand me. That's fine. Not you, Mandy. I mean, someone who's going to misquote me. I said what I said.
Uh-huh.
Maybe it's
Uh-huh.
time to lean in because the whole world is so binary. I never thought the world was so binary. Like, oh, that white woman, oh, that black
Mm-hmm.
man. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
what about just that person? So we're
Sure.
learning these things, I think is what I
Mm-hmm.
want to say. So yeah, I think what not to do is probably not to just say, are you sure? Is it a phase?
Yeah.
Even if you think it,
That's a big one.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Or
that's
like
what my
doing
dad
that
said to
process.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. Doing that processing in front of your child is not helpful for them. So it's okay to do all that. Like you said, if you need to go in the bathroom and cry or do whatever, then that's fine, but don't do that in front of your kid.
I think ultimately the first thing you said was to breathe. That's
Mm-hmm.
important. And maybe, just maybe, everybody who's considering having a child now should just start thinking, what if my child turns out to not be
Mm-hmm.
whatever list of expectations you have on the right?
Mm-hmm.
What if your child turns out not to be that? So that you
Yeah.
don't end up with the mourning phase and the grieving and the denial and then kick your kid
Mm-hmm.
out.com. Because as far as I know, no one would choose to be trans. I don't think, not
Yeah.
with what's happening
Yeah.
to trans people today.
Sure.
Yet more and more of them are coming out in their droves. So it's for us to adjust. We have to adjust.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Mandy. This was so good. I
Yes.
mean, I didn't know
Yes.
you were
Thank
that
you.
deep in activism. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I thought I was
Yeah.
gangster. You definitely.
Well, thank you for having me here. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and talk with your viewers. So, thanks.
Yeah, I don't think you've become an activist until you get a letter in the mail. I hate mail.
Oh,
And I was,
yeah,
yeah,
I mean, that definitely lit a different fire for me, I think. But I was doing the work a couple years before that, but that definitely lit a different fire. Let's say
that's
that.
good.
And calling people out as chicken shit, then that's
That's, yeah,
that's a
I love
different
it
kind of.
because I said that. I said, oh, I said, oh, I'm really going to become an activist. I know I'm an activist the day I get hate mail. And I forgot that, you
Oh, I
know,
see.
I have this long list of maybe um not emails or direct mail in the mail, but someone was like, wait, did you have a post? I was like, oh, you're right. I have many,
Ooh,
many
yeah,
posts on social media
yeah,
where people have come and I was like, okay.
yeah.
Yes, I said,
Oh,
oh,
yeah,
you're officially
yeah.
an actor. I said, okay. So thank you so much, Mandy. This has been so
Thank
much
you.
fun. Listen, be safe, sister, out there. I
Thank
mean,
you.
watch your
Thank you.
back,
You too.
obviously,
Will do.
and let's just keep doing the good work and hopefully
Yep.
I'll see you soon. And then when I see you again, we have to do something together. We have to.
Yes.
It's done.
Yes, that would be great. Definitely. All
All right.
right.
Safe,
Thank
safe,
you.
safety tomorrow if you do end up
Yes.
going. I'm going to
Thank
be
you.
on my way to my kids' graduation in Lubbock. So
Ah,
yes, we're
yay.
graduating
Awesome.
finally from college. Oh my God. Whew. I say
Well, that'll be
finally
some
because
joy.
when I say finally because architecture is 5 years. So it's like, oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Finally. Yeah.
Finally.
Well, good. That'll have
Yes.
some joy in your family,
Yes.
and so that'll be fun.
Yes, absolutely.
Great.
All
All
right, my
right.
darling.
Well, thank
Thank you so much
you.
for coming and blessing our pages today. I really, truly appreciate it.
All right. Appreciate you too. Bye.
Bye. Y'all don't forget to check out parentsoftransyouth.com for Mandy and all the work that she's doing. All right. Bye.